So if you want to have better thoughts, what you do is, well, one strategy is start thinking of what your goals are. Like, so if you're thinking about something somebody's really pissed you off, or like really messed with you or something, or you're letting them mess with you, what you do is be mindful of it, realize you're doing it. Okay, that's the first step. And you'll get used to that, you get better and better at it. And then from there, you switch it up, because we all do have goals and things we want and things we need. Switch it up and just think of that stuff. So what I've been doing is the negative thing will come in my head. And that's just, they say, like I've heard people that talk like made mega millions and stuff, and they'll tell you like that negative voice is like in their head too. And some days you wake up and then you're in a funk, and there ain't I'd like to say there ain't anything you do about it. There is days where it's just harder, but continue to be mindful of it, and just like so the thing in your head is coming at you, whatever it is that's upsetting you. Just replace it. Start thinking of what it is that you got to do, and where it's going to take you, and then just start taking steps too, right? So like if you're sitting around, you're going to become a lot more negative, really. Like, I mean, sure, if you're getting dopamine hits by playing video games, how do you say, not safe for work content, or even just like watching movies, you have a routine, you will get dopamine hits from that, and you might not be thinking negatively, because that's what's distracting you. That's what's filling your mind. But then, and I know this from personal experience, it's kind of currently where I'm at, or, and what I'm working my way out of. And I know all these things. I've been through them before. Not in this manner. I'm in a heavier position than usual, right? But I know how that goes. So there's an example of like, when I was in business and making good, or on the come up, there'd be certain things, like in this place that I would go, I was a vendor there, so I would go there, and they would pay me to do work. I wasn't I was like a contractor with them, right? And they wouldn't, or it was a very kind of stuffy douchebag kind of atmosphere, in a sense, like for me. And I noticed, like, these people that I'd be working around, they'd be talking smack against each other, with each other. It was like all over. And then there'd be times I'd be working away, and I don't know, like I just get this vibe, like they kind of like, like that, like they lean over, look at you, smile, laugh, right? And I'm the type of person that can, like when I was younger, I'll take that right on. Like I'll just come at you. You got a problem? But that's too much, eh? And I paid some prices for that too. So anyway, I was on the come up, and I was learning like some Gnosticism, alchemy, all these other kind of things, psychology, a lot of psychology, because I would put headphones in and just listen to that. So I was able to just say, just work. Like whatever it is, you could be wrong too. You could be wrong. You're just making up a whole world that isn't even true. And if it is, it ain't that big of a deal. Because if they're talking about you now in some negative light, they'll be talking about somebody else negative very shortly. They'll be over you, So anyway, I just got over it, just like, and I just remember specifically, there was this one time where the vibe was really weird for like 2 or 3 days or something. And I just, kept working, and just kept, like, I didn't go get involved or anything. And I found that all of a sudden, everything seemed great, like they were very friendly and blah, blah, blah. And that account ended up just going up and up and up and making me money. Like, I mean, if I was, like when I was younger, like in my late teens and early 20s, situations like that, sometimes I would just like attack it. Like I grew up in kind of, well, it was a poor neighborhood, and it was the 80s, the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, and and whatever, you just you don't let nobody get away with nothing kind of thing, or you know, you make a thing out of everything. But it was really helpful to just focus on what I wanted, what I had to do, you know. And in business, you're always going to have some kind of issue. And I mean, like, that's, wow, this is deep. Okay, well, I'll just walk over. Oh, see, you can fall in this pit here. Okay, how far does that pit go up? So, man, I was in the middle of something when I hit that pit. But, let's see here. Yeah, there's always going to be those troubles, you know, blah, 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 right? But really, there is a mention of a thing that or something I wanted to mention on this topic, and that is, if somebody wants a little help with this, or, you know, like, you can kind of look into it's, you know, I was gonna say Buddhism, like that's how I thought it, well, always thought it was, but I did a little reading on it last night, and I think it said like Hinduism or Hinduism. Either way, it's one of the isms. But man, there's a dog team going out there. I know the dog team. I don't know them personally, but nonetheless, so it's called the Honeyman, the monkey mind. So our mind's gonna bounce around and just like get all angry with things, you know, throw things, you know. It's up in there bouncing around and doing crazy shit to you, and you just gotta, like, you control that monkey, okay? That monkey don't control you. It's very important. I do have a younger family member that I, you know, I believe, try to explain this to. I've heard it put this way. There was a psychologist that had to deal with children, and like, you know, with these kids, like, they would just go irate over something and whatnot. And what he would do is tell them, when you're having those thoughts and you're just about to lose your shit, basically, think of that as your dog, and your dog is just like yanking out of the chain and just pulling away from you and making things difficult for you. You know, yank on that chain and make that dog sit. And those are those thoughts in your head. Just make it sit. Anyway, I might add to this later, but I gotta head into that. And I gotta figure out where exactly. I kind of lost track while I was talking there. For talks, Yakum. So before I head on out of here, I'll mention a little bit more if it comes to mind. I'm kind of free swinging these things. I think about them a lot, and I have been for a lot of years, and I've researched a lot, you know. So sometimes I'll block. Maybe I should start editing out my, you know, maybe I'll start editing some of that out, but I don't know. It feels more free to just be. And I am closer to the highway, that's for sure. Like, I mean, that's like a good 5K or more away, but you can hear it. It's awful loud. I'll be at the car soon. So, what I'm realizing more and more is, how do you say, when I'm going up in attitude about things and I'm getting more work done, you start to and this happened earlier in the month, and I'm realizing now, like it's like you got these highs and lows, and when you're on a high, if you let it get you up too much, and you know, you got to be pumped, right? Like, that's good, it's not bad. It's just, be aware of the fact that, like, you might feel so good, you go and do something stupid, you know. Like, you might feel so good, you're like, oh, everything's coming up, you know, like, I'm feeling good, I got lots done. It's like the idea of getting a lot done, and then being like, oh, I'm just gonna go party for the night or something, you know, right? Or I'm just gonna go do this other thing. Like, you know, some people, I guess, they need breaks and stuff, and you, in a certain sense, you do. being in the woods for me is the break. But you know, you could kind of mess yourself up, right? Like you'll put a bunch of time in on something and working on it and learning things, or you know, like just working towards a goal, and then you feel like you're doing really great, and I find I kind of like hit a peak, and then I reward myself. And a lot of people talk about that, like when it comes to you know, like people that do weightlifting, or you know, like they have a diet that they stay on, right? And I mean, because I do generally eat healthy, but what they'll do is they'll have that cheat day or something. But that cheat day, not only does it kind of like ruins the momentum, really. Then your next day you're gonna feel like kind of like crud, like you know, you ate a whole bunch of ice cream, big tub of ice cream, you know, and you're not gonna be bang on the next day. And then so that night you might put in less work. You'd be like, yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, I did lots. I'm just gonna, I'll just put on a movie and just chill, you know. And I found that that's the thing that was getting me like mid this month. I have a real thing for watching movies and sort of like documentaries on I just like sailing. Like I have nothing to do with sailing. Like where I am at, there's none of that. Just like old stories, historical stories of sailors and stuff, and some of the things they went through. And I mean, I do utilize like watching these stories to try to keep in my mind that it ain't all that bad. Like how we have it now is just so easy. And that's part of the trap, right? Like, it's either my stomach or a bare stomach. Anyway, like, yeah, they say comfort is a killer, and it is. Because you can get comfortable and not be progressing, right? I went through a lot of my life without like a super motivation. When I was younger, I did hit this point, and I was going to school, I was doing all these things, and I had this idea, you know, like I'm gonna, you know, do the computer engineering and you know, maybe get into software. But like, you know, I was much more interested in the hardware. I'm kind of a hands-on, fix-it kind of a person, right? But I did quit out at some point. I had a lot of things coming in on me. Some old friend was in some big trouble, and was held around. It was just a distraction, and a lot of things in the school. You know, there was a lot of excuses to be made, but I quit out. And then you start working just a regular job, and then jumping from job to job because none of it was enough to hold me in, right? The only time in my life I found any kind of decent success was when I was just working for myself. That did go sideways. A lot of things went sideways for the last decade, and it all crescendoed, I'd say, last year. And I'm trying to make the move out, but there's a lot of things I'm not doing right. Which is, I have to face the fact that I may not wanna, you know, go do 9 to 5 or go do some crappy job for somebody else. And I say crappy job, I mean, do a good job for them, but like just something I'm not interested in just to get some pay to live. But I'm at that point where I have to do that. Like the things that I have been trying to make happen, they're gonna take a little longer, like a lot longer. And that's the way it is, you know. I'm turning 49 in a few days, in less than a week, and it's not where I would have pictured myself being, you know, like 10 years ago, 8 years ago, not even close, not even really like 5 years ago. I figured I'd have things worked out, you know, but really all I did was, again, if you're complacent, it'll get you. There's that saying of, you know, slow at first, then all at once. Whether you're talking about health, wealth, doesn't matter. And I think of it as both ways. Like people say like negatively, like with health, like it was slow at first, and then, you know, it was like all at once, or like with wealth, right? Slow at first, and then all at once. But it, like on the way down, right? But I find that if you are putting in the grind and the work, that it's also slow at first and then all at once. Like, you actually, even just thinking about it right now, it's like celebrities, right? Like they'll talk about that, right? Like, you know, people are like, oh, you know, like, I've heard it a lot, and I'm sure anybody watching this would think the same. That, you know, they think that like, oh, you're an overnight success. And they're like, that was not overnight. Like, you know, it was 12, 15 years of being poor and you know, grinding out and dragging equipment through the rainstorms and, you know, staying at my mom's place and, you know, all sorts of stuff they'll tell you, right? You know, and I mean, I guess there might be some, like, you know, some football, basketball stars, hockey stars, but they worked hard the whole time. Like, when they were young, they worked hard to get there. They were probably at a young age good and recognized that they were like good, or like had some aptitude maybe, or maybe if they didn't, and they just fought their way through it, and it started paying off dividends, you know. So for me, I gotta fight my way through some stuff. That's for sure. I have an old addiction, you know, alcohol, that after a year now, and I think it's just because it's at that mark, and I had somebody from that period really coming at me, knocking on my door, you know, and it's just, it makes me think I just want to, you know, like, oh, you're good. But it's not as hard of a fight as it used to be, that's for sure, like, to get off it. So that's one thing I remind myself of, is I don't want to have to go through that fight again, right? So if I'm thinking about it, to just realize I'm thinking about it and realize I'm going to feel a heck of a lot better tomorrow. So like last night, it popped in my head a couple of times, right? And I just fight it. I just say, and it's not so much fight it, I just remind myself that tomorrow, like, which is today, right now, I am going to feel like 100% better than even if I just drank slow in a little bit, you know? It'll slow me down, it'll make me a little anxious, a little depressed, a little whatever. I wouldn't recommend people do it very often, you know? Especially if you're anywhere near the bottom. It's not going to get you out of the bottom. It might make you feel like you can handle the bottom. But why would you want to handle the bottom, right? You know? I mean, unless you were trapped in some sort of a way, right? Like, I was going to put it in an analysis, like if you were, I don't know, in the middle of a war or something, and, you know, you don't want to be like, well, I'm just going to drink because there's just people shooting at me. You know, it helps me. You might want to try to figure out how to get, you know, eliminate your enemy, I guess, in that situation, because that's your objective, you know, and get out of there. Anyhow, I don't know, that went a little sideways from the original purpose, but that's kind of what I was counting on. I don't want to be a stickler on the whole watch your mind too much, you know, but I'll be bringing it up because it is a very important thing, and it's important to me right now. That's, you know, kind of why I've been making these videos lately. I've made a lot of videos and not posted them for a while now. I don't know, maybe for the year, right? But I'll be posting this. I find it's easier for me if I don't have to edit too much. Obviously, that's obvious, because then I start thinking too much. I start, you know, like, oh, should I leave that in? That goes off to the side. Should I don't know. That's not really on topic, or, you know what I mean? Like, oh, that sounds stupid, or, you know, you just like over analysis. It becomes a paralysis by analysis, and I'm huge on that. That's something that has really held me back, and in fact, I'm gonna be mindful of that. I'm gonna take more action. Just take action. I seen somebody saying, was it Alex Hormozi? You know, somebody else too, like a few of them, but just like saying, actually all of them, you know, the difference between, you know, me and most everybody else is that, like, I think it was Alex that was saying, they think about it for a month and don't take action, you know, and he's like, I think about it for half an hour and then I do it. I'm either going to do it or not do it, and that's it, right? And then he's like, the next day, I'm putting time in on it, and, you know, like, you go forward. And they call it failing forward. So, and I know that even in my business, back when it was successful on the come up, it was, you know, I had various things that put a little wrench in the works there, and just move forward, you know. And that's all you can do. So I am going to get on out of here because it was supposed to rain later, and now it is raining. It's been raining almost since I got here, like lately. So I imagine the rain that they say, the birdie's coming, that the forecast says is supposed to be coming at 5. It's probably a lot heavier because it didn't say it was supposed to be raining this whole time. So I am going to get out of here before I get soaked. Nonetheless, be mindful of your thoughts. Be, you know, working towards something. You know, put action in when your mind wants to take you places that like you can't control. You know, somebody else. That's a thing. Like, see people do it all the time. You want to control your spouse, or your mate, or whatever. Like, you want to control people at work. You want to control, you know. And I mean, they want to control you. So it's like this battle. But if you can't control it, like you can't, you know. That's like politics, right? Like, whoever gets in, they're gonna mess it up. Let's just be clear about that, okay? You get you all fighting with each other about who can mess it up, okay? We've been in, you know, you live in a society that is built on debt. Like, literally, the cash in the bank is debt. So people get all up in arms over you know, politics. And I get it, because there are some policies that have effect, but they're both going to mess it up. If you look at the American politics right now, it's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter who gets in there. They're both going to start a war. It's just, they're going to get more and more into the war, I should say. It's just a matter of who's going to attack, or which one are they going to go after first, you know? And it's out of my control. You could talk to people about things, like, you know, like, and I get it, like a politics on the level of, you know, some policies you might be just right against, because you're like, no, that we can't be having that, and, you know, say your bit, but don't think you're gonna change anybody. Don't get too excited about it, right? And I mean, I've got sort of my political views, but the truth is, you can't lean one way or the other, because they both just mess it up one way or another. And a lot of times, like, those politicians, they're just gaslighters. Like, they're not telling you what they're really gonna do and who they're really working for. They're just gonna do it. Okay, they get up and say the things, play the divide, and in fact, they create a lot of the divide. But historically, you know, I watch a lot of history. Historically, it's been pretty crazy. I mean, we come from a world of, you know, raiding tribes, like tribes that raid each other, you know? So it's got out of your control. We've got it decent now. We can just keep moving forward. You know, take care of your own backyard, and the rest will follow. Anyway, I think this will be it. I don't think I'll say anything else in the car. I might have to edit this out, but kind of went a little here and a little there. I don't know how many people would have the attention span to jump all over the place like that. I personally can watch videos like this. I have no problem with it. No problem with it. Just kind of like, even if it's thoughts I'm thinking, you know, or I've thought about or whatnot, it's just kind of like a reminder. I just have that. It's better than, like, I don't know. Like, you're playing a video game, remembering to where the gold coins are or something, you know. I don't know. It's just remembering to keep yourself on track. And yeah, anyway, so y'all, peace out till later.